The child should never have been in the dining hall. Not beneath the chandeliers. Not beside the long mahogany table where dukes, lords, ladies, and powdered guests laughed over roast pheasant, sugared pears, and wine dark as garnets. And certainly not beside the chair of Benedict Arden, Duke of Thornbrook. But there he stood, small, thin, barefoot in borrowed stockings too large for him. His hair was dark and untidy, his little coat patched at the elbows, and in both hands he held a cracked white plate, as if it were a sacred offering. The room had been full of music a moment before. Silver forks had chimed softly. Ladies had smiled behind crystal glasses. Lord Marwood had been telling a story about a fox hunt no one believed. Then the little boy spoke. "Please, sir," he said, looking up at the Duke's untouched plate. "Are you finished with that bread?" The dining hall died. Every conversation stopped at once. A servant near the sideboard nearly dropped a tray. At the far end of the room, Mara Vale felt the blood leave her face. No, not here. Not him. Her son, Noah, stood beside the Duke of Thornbrook's chair with the fearless seriousness of a child who had not yet learned that powerful people preferred hunger to remain invisible. The Duke looked down at him. Benedict Arden had been called many things since inheriting Thornbrook at 27. Cold, brilliant, unmarriageable, too proud, too quiet. A man who could silence a room simply by placing his glass down. Tonight, he did not speak at first. He merely stared at the boy. Noah pointed carefully to the bread on the Duke's plate. "You have not touched it," he explained, "and Mrs. Hale says wasting bread is a sin if someone else can still use it." A few ladies gasped. Someone laughed. Not loudly. That would have been vulgar. It was worse than loud. It was a soft drawing room laugh, the kind used by people who wanted cruelty to sound like amusement. Lady Celine Marwood covered her mouth with 2 fingers. "How sweet," she murmured. "The kitchens have become bold this season." Her father, Lord Marwood, lowered his wineglass and smiled. A charming little beggar. Mara moved before she knew she was moving. She crossed the space between the servants' line and the Duke's chair, with her heart beating so hard she could barely see. Her cap felt too tight. Her plain grey maid's gown felt suddenly like a prison. Every eye in the hall was on her son. "Noah," she whispered. The boy turned, brightening with relief. "Mama, I found bread." A ripple moved around the table. "Mama?" Mara wanted the stone floor to open. She dropped into a curtsy so low her knees ached. "Forgive him, Your Grace. He is tired. He did not understand." Noah frowned. "I understood. The bread was sitting there alone." Another small laugh moved through the guests. Benedict still had not spoken. He was looking at Mara now. No, not at Mara. Through her. Past the cap pinned low over her dark hair, past the tired hollows in her cheeks, past the name she had used for 6 years. Mara Vale, widow, temporary kitchen maid. Harmless, invisible. But Benedict Arden had once known another woman, Ilara Finch, a steward's daughter with laughing eyes, ink on her fingers, and a voice he had once sworn he could hear even in sleep. Mara lowered her face before recognition could reach him fully. "Come," she whispered to Noah, reaching for his hand. But Noah did not move. The boy was staring at the Duke now with open curiosity. Do dukes not like crusts? The silence became unbearable. Then Benedict finally answered. "I do." His voice was low, controlled, and strangely rough. Noah looked relieved. "Then why did you leave it?" Benedict's gaze moved from the bread to the boy's face. The Duke's expression changed. Only slightly, but Mara saw it. The first crack in the ice. Noah had Benedict's eyes. Not merely the colour, though that was damning enough. Storm grey, with a thin dark ring around the iris. The Arden eyes. Everyone in the county knew them. They appeared in portraits through 4 generations of dukes, cold and watchful from golden frames. But it was more than that. It was the way Noah looked directly at people without fear. The way his small brows drew together when he was thinking. The way his mouth tightened with stubborn justice before he spoke a truth no adult wanted said aloud. Benedict Arden was looking at a child who had his eyes, and his father's chin, and his own grave, accusing stare. The Duke slowly pushed the plate toward Noah. "Take the bread." Noah's face lit with gratitude. "And the potatoes." A shocked laugh escaped one of the younger gentlemen. Mara closed her eyes. But Benedict only lifted the silver spoon and placed the potatoes carefully beside the bread. A boy who asks honestly should not be sent away hungry. Noah beamed. "Thank you, sir." Benedict's eyes lifted to Mara. "What is your name?" Her lips felt numb. "Mara Vale, your grace." "No," he said softly. The room did not hear it. But she did. He looked at her as if a door long nailed shut had opened somewhere in his mind. "No?" Lady Selene said lightly, leaning forward. "Has the maid forgotten herself, or has your grace forgotten his manners?" Benedict did not look at her. "Mrs. Vale," he said, though the title sounded wrong in his mouth. "After dinner, I wish to speak with you." Mara tightened her grip on Noah's shoulder. "I am assigned to the kitchens, your grace." "Then the kitchens will spare you." Lord Marwood's gaze sharpened over the rim of his glass. Mara saw it. She had feared Benedict's recognition. She had forgotten to fear the man who had made certain Benedict would never recognize her in time. Noah held the plate proudly, unaware that every adult around him had begun to understand the shape of a scandal before he did. "Mamma," he whispered, "may I share with Tommy from the scullery? He coughs when he sleeps." Mara's heart cracked. "Yes, my love." Benedict heard. Of course he heard. Something in his face hardened, but not against the boy. Against the room. Against the untouched food, the laughter, the polished cruelty sitting in jewels around his table. "Mrs. Vale," he said, "take him below." She curtsied, barely managing to keep her balance. Noah bowed to Benedict as best he could, while balancing the plate. "Thank you for not being angry, sir." Benedict's voice changed. "I was not angry with you." Noah considered this. "Good. Mamma says powerful men are most dangerous when they are quiet." A few guests turned away to hide smiles. Mara could not breathe. Benedict looked at her. "Does she?" Noah nodded solemnly. "She says silence can be a door closing." The words struck Benedict visibly. Mara pulled Noah away before he could say anything else. Every step toward the servant's door felt longer than the road she had walked 6 years ago, with nothing but a letter, a broken heart, and a secret life beginning beneath her ribs. She did not dare look back, but she felt Benedict watching. The kitchens exploded into whispers when she entered. Mrs. Hale, the cook, took one look at Mara's face and clapped her hands. "Back to work, all of you. If gossip thickens soup, we would have dinner for a month." Noah climbed onto a low stool and began dividing the bread with serious concentration. "One for Tommy, one for Mamma, one for me, one for Mrs. Hale because she looks cross but is hungry inside." Mrs. Hale's mouth twitched. "I am hungry inside for obedience." That sounds difficult to cook. Mara should have scolded him. Instead, she knelt before him and cupped his face. "You must never go into that hall again." But he had food. "That is not the point. It was the point to my stomach." "Noah." The sharpness in her voice silenced him. His face fell. At once, guilt stabbed through her. He was 6. Brave, hungry, tender, and far too used to counting food by who needed it most. "I am not angry," she whispered. "I was frightened." His small hand touched her cheek. "Of the Duke." Mara swallowed. "Yes. But he gave me potatoes. That does not mean he cannot take something too." Noah thought about this, troubled. What would he take? Mara looked toward the ceiling, where the dining hall sat above them like a trap dressed in candlelight. "My piece," she said softly. Before Noah could ask what that meant, a footman appeared at the kitchen door. "Mrs. Vale, His Grace will see you now." Noah's fingers closed around her sleeve. "Mamma." She kissed his forehead. "Stay with Mrs. Hale. If he is unkind, I will return the potatoes." Despite everything, Mara nearly laughed. The library was waiting. Benedict stood beside the fire with his back to her when she entered. A tray sat on the table: bread, cheese, sliced ham, apples, warm milk, and a small covered bowl. Not leftovers. Fresh food. For a child. He turned when the door closed. For a moment, neither spoke. The years stood between them. 6 years of false names. 6 years of hunger. 6 years since Benedict Arden had kissed Ilara Finch beneath the orchard wall and promised he would return from London to marry her. 6 years since a letter bearing his seal told her she had misunderstood him, shamed herself, and should leave Thornbrook before she became an embarrassment. Benedict's eyes searched her face. "Take off your cap." Mara's spine stiffened. "I beg your pardon. Please." That word was worse than command. Her fingers rose slowly. She unpinned the cap. Her dark hair, cut shorter than it had once been and roughened from work, loosened around her face. A few strands near her temples still caught the old chestnut gold when the fire touched them. Benedict went pale. Ilara. The name tore through her like a hand reopening a scar. No, she said. His face tightened. No? Ilara died years ago. He stepped toward her. She stepped back. He stopped immediately. Then who stands in my library? A woman who learned not to wait for men who write cruel letters. His expression changed. Confusion first, then hurt, then something deeper, fear. What letter? Mara almost laughed. It came out hollow. Do not ask questions you wrote answers to. I wrote you no cruel letter. The room seemed to tilt. She gripped the back of the chair. You expect me to believe that? I expect nothing. I am asking you to tell me what happened. Her breath shook. You left for London. You promised to return in 3 weeks. I waited 6. Then your letter came through the estate office. It said your father had chosen another match. It said I had been foolish to believe affection could become marriage. It said if I valued my father's position, I would leave quietly. Benedict stared at her as if every word struck him one by one. I wrote every week. No. I did. Stop. I wrote to your father. I wrote to you. When my father fell ill, when he worsened, when he died, when I inherited, when I returned and found your rooms empty, I wrote until my hands cramped. Mara shook her head. The story that had kept her alive began cracking around her. No. Ilara. Do not say my name as if you can bring her back. He looked toward the door, toward the kitchens far below, toward the child who had asked for his bread. His voice dropped. The boy. Mara went still. Benedict's eyes returned to hers. How old is he? She did not answer. He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, the Duke was gone. Only the man from the orchard remained, wounded and very still. How old, Ilara? Her voice broke despite every wall she had built. 6. Benedict's hand tightened on the edge of the table. The tray rattled softly. Outside the library, guests laughed faintly in another room. Inside, a father discovered his son beneath his own roof because the boy had been hungry enough to ask for scraps. Mara lifted her chin. He is mine. Benedict's eyes shone with something too fierce to name. Yes, he said quietly, but he is mine too. And in the silence that followed, both of them understood that the question was no longer whether the past had lied. The question was who had written the lie, and who in Thornbrook Hall had profited from 6 stolen years. Benedict did not sleep that night. He sat in the library long after Mara left, staring at the untouched tray meant for Noah, while the fire burned low and the old portraits above the shelves watched him with ancestral disapproval. His son had asked for leftovers. His son. A child with ardent eyes and patched boots. A child who shared bread before eating it. A child who had been sleeping in servants' quarters while Benedict's guests wasted enough food nightly to feed half the village. Every memory returned sharpened. Noah studying the potatoes with moral seriousness. Noah asking if dukes liked crusts. Noah saying powerful men were dangerous when quiet. Benedict rose before dawn, not because he had slept, but because night had finally surrendered. He went first to the old estate office. The room had once belonged to Mara's father, Jacob Finch, Thornbrook's former steward. Benedict remembered the man as careful, proud, and honest to the point of inconvenience. After Benedict's father died, Lord Marwood had temporarily overseen many accounts while Benedict struggled through grief, title duties, and legal confusion. At the time, Benedict had been grateful. Now he wondered how much gratitude had cost. Dust lay over the old correspondence cabinets. Benedict unlocked the first drawer himself. Inside were account books, tenant notices, old receipts, dull business. No letters. Not one from 6 years ago. At breakfast, he watched Lord Marwood. The older man sat with easy confidence beside his daughter, Lady Celine, who wore pale blue silk and smiled as if last night's disturbance had been nothing more than a spilled glass. Noah was not present, of course. Mara was not present, and yet they occupied every chair. Lady Celine stirred her tea. Your Grace seems distracted. I am reviewing old household records. Her spoon paused. Lord Marwood continued buttering his toast. A dreary occupation. Sometimes dreary things become interesting when people prefer them forgotten. Marwood smiled. People forget many things in grief. Benedict looked at him. So I am learning. Celine leaned forward. I do hope last night's kitchen incident has not troubled you. The child was pitiful, of course, but one cannot allow servants to wander freely among guests. It encourages confusion. Benedict placed his cup down. The sound was quiet. Everyone at the table heard it. What confusion? Celine blinked. I only meant boundaries. Between hunger and food? Colour rose in her cheeks. Lord Marwood laughed lightly. My dear Duke, you must forgive Celine. She speaks from concern for your dignity. My dignity survived a hungry child asking for bread. Marwood's eyes sharpened. Bread is rarely just bread in a house like this. No, Benedict said. Sometimes it is evidence. The table fell silent. After breakfast, Benedict sent for Mrs. Hale. The cook arrived, wiping her hands on her apron, face stern enough to frighten weaker men. Your Grace. Mrs. Hale, how long has Mrs. Vale worked here? 3 weeks this Friday. And the boy? With her. Has he gone hungry? Her mouth tightened. In my kitchen, no child goes hungry if I can help it. That is not what I asked. The old woman looked at him for a long moment. Then she sighed. They share. That is the truth of it. Mrs. Vale gives half her plate away more often than she eats it. To Mrs. Fletcher when the woman's cough is bad. To Tommy when he shakes from work. To the boy when she thinks no one sees. The boy notices everything. That is why he went upstairs. Not greed, worry. Benedict turned toward the window. The morning had come wet and grey over Thornbrooks Parkland. His voice was low. She never asked for help. Mrs. Hale's expression softened by half an inch. Women who have been punished for needing help learn not to ask. The words lodged beneath his ribs. Send Noah to the library after luncheon. Mrs. Hale raised one brow. Does his mother know? Not yet. Then tell her first, Your Grace. I like my kitchen without explosions. Benedict almost smiled. Almost. He found Mara in the laundry passage, carrying a basket of folded linen, nearly half her size. She stopped when she saw him. Fear flashed across her face before she could hide it. He hated that most. Not anger, not resentment, fear. Mrs. Vale, he said, though every part of him wanted to say Alara. Your Grace, I would like to see Noah after luncheon, with your permission. The words surprised her. He saw it. Permission was not what she expected from a duke. For what purpose? To give him the meal he should have had last night. He has eaten. To speak with him then. Her grip tightened on the basket. No. Benedict accepted the blow. May I ask why? Because he becomes attached to kindness. That sounds more virtue than danger. Not when kindness belongs to powerful men who may remove it. I will not remove it. You do not know what you will do. The words were weary, not cruel. That made them worse. Benedict stepped back enough to show he would not crowd her. I know this. I will not take him from you. Her face changed. There it was. The terror beneath everything. Not merely that he would know, that he would claim, that a duke's blood might matter more than a mother's sacrifice. I swear it, he said. Noah is safe with you. From me, from this house, from anyone who thinks my name gives them rights over him. Mara looked away. For a moment, he saw the old Ilara in the tremble of her mouth, the woman who had once argued with him over poetry and apples and whether love could survive class. Then she hardened again. He may come for 1 hour. Mrs. Hale will bring him. Thank you. She looked back at him. If you hurt him, I will not forgive you. I would not ask you to. Noah arrived after luncheon wearing his patched coat and new suspicion. Mrs. Hale brought him to the library, gave Benedict a look that warned him not to mishandle the boy, then left them with the door open. Noah stood on the carpet, staring at the shelves. There are too many books. Benedict sat across from him, not behind the desk. That felt important. Do you dislike books? No. But if one falls, we may both perish. That is unlikely. Noah looked unconvinced. There is a very large one above your head. Benedict glanced up. So there is. I would move. He did. Noah seemed satisfied. On the small table between them sat a plate, bread, roasted potatoes, apple slices, and a bowl of thick stew. Noah stared at it with longing he tried to disguise as politeness. For you, Benedict said. Noah hesitated. Did Mama say I may? Yes. Did she say I must not spill? She trusted me to survive. Noah climbed onto the chair and began eating with careful manners. Halfway through the first piece of bread, he broke it in two and wrapped one piece in his napkin. Benedict's throat tightened. For your mother. Noah nodded. She says she is not hungry when she is sad, but that is not true. Sadness is not supper. No, Benedict said quietly. It is not. Noah studied him. Are you sad? The question struck too directly. Yes, because your potatoes were taken. Despite himself, Benedict smiled. No, because I should have known things sooner. Noah considered this while chewing. Mama knows most things. You can ask her. I am trying. She does not like questions when they hurt. I have noticed. Noah leaned closer, lowering his voice. She sings when she thinks I am asleep. That means she is sad, but pretending not to be. Benedict went still. What does she sing? Noah hummed a few notes. An old Thornbrook orchard tune. Benedict closed his eyes briefly. Ilara had sung that song the summer he loved her. He had told her once it made the whole estate sound less lonely. She had laughed and said he was too grand to be lonely. Noah watched him. You know it. I do. Mama said it is old. It is. Are you old? Not as old as I feel today. Noah nodded gravely. That happens to Mrs. Hale before breakfast. By the time Mara came to collect him, Noah had eaten the stew, stored bread for her, and asked Benedict whether dukes were born knowing how to be in charge or whether someone trained them with biscuits. Mara stopped in the doorway at the sight of them. Noah was standing beside Benedict's chair, explaining the superiority of potatoes over turnips, because potatoes are humble but dependable. Benedict was listening as though the matter had political importance. The scene wounded her because it looked natural. Too natural. Noah turned. Mama, I saved you bread. She crossed the room slowly. Thank you, my love. Benedict stood. Mara did not look at him. But when Noah tucked the bread into her hand, her eyes filled for one dangerous second. The next days changed Thornbrook Hall. Not loudly. Small things. A cobbler arrived for Noah's boots. Not with fancy shoes that would shame the old ones, but sturdy black boots made for running. Extra food appeared in the kitchen, ordered under the excuse of guest requirements. Mrs. Fletcher received medicine from the village physician, paid for anonymously, though everyone knew who had paid. Noah began appearing in the library every afternoon. Mara objected, then negotiated, then surrendered to the impossible fact that her son's laughter now lived there. Benedict taught him chess. Noah renamed every piece. The bishops became sneaky uncles. The rooks became serious houses. The queen became Mama because she does everything. Benedict looked at Mara when he said it. She turned away before he could see her tears. But Thornbrook was not only warming, it was watching. Lady Selene saw Noah leave the library one afternoon carrying a book almost bigger than his chest. What a fortunate child, she said sweetly. Some boys are born low and still learn to climb. Noah looked at her. My mama says climbing is only rude if you step on someone's fingers. A footman coughed into his sleeve. Celine's smile froze. That evening, Lord Marwood cornered Mara in the passage near the silver room. You have become visible, he said. Mara curtsied without lowering her eyes. My lord, a dangerous habit for women with invented names. Her blood turned cold. He smiled. Yes, I remember your father, Jacob Finch, good steward. Poor judge of his daughter's ambitions. Mara said nothing. She aimed high once, did she not? You know nothing of me. I know enough to advise departure. Fear moved through her, old and familiar. But this time something else rose with it. Anger. I have departed before because men like you held doors open only toward ruin. Marwood's face hardened. And yet here you are again, with a child whose face asks inconvenient questions. Before Mara could answer, Benedict's voice came from behind them. Then let us answer them. Marwood turned. Benedict stood at the end of the corridor, still as judgment. The older man recovered quickly. Your Grace, I was merely speaking with your servant. No, Benedict said. You were threatening the mother of my guest. Mara looked at him sharply. Guest, not servant. Marwood heard the correction too. His expression chilled. Careful, Benedict. Sentiment already cost your father dearly. My father's mistakes are becoming increasingly interesting to me. And yours? Benedict stepped closer. My mistake was trusting men who thought silence could be locked in an office drawer. Marwood's eyes narrowed. For the first time, Mara saw fear in him. Not much, but enough. Benedict turned to her. Mara. She almost corrected him, then stopped. His use of that name was deliberate. Respect for the woman she had become, not a demand for the girl she had been. Take Noah to Mrs. Hale. Do not leave the kitchens tonight. What are you going to do? His eyes stayed on Marwood. Open drawers. That night, the estate office burned. Not fully. A small, controlled fire in the old records room, discovered before it took the main wing. Servants rushed with buckets. Smoke filled the corridor. Guests gathered in dressing gowns, whispering theatrically. Benedict stood outside the office, coat thrown over his shirt, face blackened with soot. In his hand was a half-burned bundle of letters tied with blue ribbon. Mara saw them from the kitchen doorway. Her breath stopped. Benedict looked across the smoky hall at her, and in his eyes she saw the truth before he spoke it. The letters had been found. The lie had a shape now. And by morning, someone in Thornbrook Hall would answer for 6 stolen years. By dawn, the ruined records room smelled of smoke, wet ash, and old sins brought too close to flame. The fire had failed. That was the first miracle. The second was that the letters had not. They lay on Benedict's library desk in 3 uneven piles. Letters he had written to Ilara, letters she had supposedly received, and household notes bearing signatures that now looked less like records and more like weapons. Mara stood across the desk with both hands locked together. Noah was still asleep in Mrs. Hale's room, guarded by the cook, the scullery maid, 2 footmen, and a kitchen boy who had armed himself with a rolling pin. Benedict had not laughed when informed of this militia. He had said only, "Good." Now he unfolded the first letter. The page was smoke-stained at one corner, but the words remained. Ilara, my father has worsened. I cannot leave London tonight, though I have argued with every physician in the house. Wait for me. Trust no message that does not bear my private seal. I love you. I will return. Mara pressed one hand to her mouth. Benedict read another. Ilara, if my silence frightened you, forgive me. My letters are being delayed. I suspect my father's household is being managed by people who believe my life is theirs to arrange. Do not leave Thornbrook. If anyone threatens your father's place, send word through Mrs. Hale. She will know how to reach me. Mrs. Hale. Mara turned toward the door, as if the cook might appear there with all the answers. She never received anything, Benedict said. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled slightly. I asked. Lord Marwood dismissed Mrs. Hale's sister from the London kitchen that same week. After that, Mrs. Hale's messages stopped moving. Mara closed her eyes. Every year of pain rearranged itself. Not vanishing. Never that, but changing shape. She had not been abandoned. She had been intercepted. Benedict lifted the forged letter. Mara did not need him to read it. She knew every word. She had carried it in memory longer than she had carried her own name. Ilara Finch, what passed between us was youthful foolishness. You mistook kindness for promise. Leave quietly and preserve what dignity remains to you. Benedict's jaw tightened. That is not my hand. I know that now. He looked at her. The words cost her, but she gave them. I know. A knock came. Evers, the butler, entered with an elderly clerk beside him. The clerk's face was pale and lined, his hands spotted with age and guilt. Benedict did not offer him a chair. Mr. Crowley, he said, tell Mrs. Vale what you told me. The old clerk looked at Mara. I am sorry. She did not answer. He swallowed. Lord Marwood instructed the estate office to hold all letters addressed to Miss Finch and Mr. Jacob Finch during the old Duke's illness. He said the young master was under dangerous influence and that the family must be protected from scandal. Mara's voice was flat. And the forged letter? The clerk's eyes filled. I copied his Grace's hand from old notes. Lord Marwood dictated. I sealed it with the household seal. I told myself it was not my place to question gentlemen. Benedict's voice cut cold. Men have hidden behind that sentence for centuries. The clerk bowed his head. Mara felt strangely empty. She had imagined this moment many times, though never with the true villain. She had imagined shouting, weeping, demanding why. But looking at the old man, she felt only the exhaustion of someone who had already lived the punishment for his cowardice. My father, she asked. The clerk flinched. Dismissed on false grounds. Lord Marwood claimed he had mismanaged small accounts. There was no theft, no dishonesty. Mara gripped the chair. Her father had died believing disgrace had swallowed his name. Benedict moved as if to touch her, then stopped. Good. She could not bear kindness yet. The clerk continued. Lord Marwood wanted Lady Selene positioned for marriage. He believed if Miss Finch remained, his grace would defy the old Duke's plans. When Miss Finch left, the matter was considered settled. No, Mara said quietly. Both men looked at her. It was not settled. It was carried. The clerk wept then. She did not comfort him. By noon, Benedict had made his decision. He did not call a private inquiry. He did not allow Lord Marwood to slip away with dignity. He waited until the winter assembly that evening, when every guest at Thornbrook Hall gathered in the ballroom beneath garlands of holly, white roses and candlelight. Mara begged him not to. Do not make Noah a spectacle. I will not. This will follow him. Truth will follow him better than rumour. She looked at him then, searching his face. Benedict softened. I will say nothing without your permission. That almost broke her. 6 years ago, men had decided her life in rooms where she was not allowed to stand. Now a duke asked. Mara looked toward the kitchens, where Noah was being dressed in his cleanest shirt by Mrs. Hale, who had muttered that if truth must attend a ball, it ought to have brushed hair. Do it, she said, but protect him. With everything I am. The ballroom glittered that night. Lady Selene stood near the centre in ivory silk, prepared for triumph. Everyone knew Lord Marwood had expected Benedict to announce an engagement before Christmas. Selene knew it most of all. When Benedict entered, the room hushed. He wore black. No ornament except the Thornbrook signet. He crossed to the dais where musicians usually sat and lifted one hand. The music stopped. Lord Marwood smiled as if he were ready to receive congratulations. Benedict looked over the room. 6 years ago, he began, a woman was driven from this house by a lie written in my name. The smile vanished from Marwood's face. Selene turned sharply toward her father. Murmurs spread. Benedict continued. She was told I had abandoned her. I was told she had left willingly. Her father was disgraced by false accusation. Her letters were withheld. Mine were hidden. And a child was born into hunger while this house congratulated itself on preserving its reputation. Mara stood near the side arch with Noah's hand in hers. Noah looked up at her. Mama? She knelt beside him. Listen, my love, but remember, none of this is your fault. Benedict unfolded the first letter. He read only enough. Not every private promise, not every tender word, just enough for the room to understand. Wait for me. I love you. Trust no message that does not bear my private seal. Then he held up the forged letter. This was sent instead. The room stirred. Lady Selene's face had gone pale. Lord Marwood stepped forward. Benedict, grief has made you theatrical. No, Benedict said. Grief made me trusting. Fatherhood has made me precise. The word fatherhood cracked through the room. Noah's fingers tightened in Mara's hand. Benedict looked toward them. He did not beckon. He waited. Mara understood. The choice was hers. She stood slowly and walked forward with Noah beside her. The crowd parted. Some faces showed pity, some hunger for scandal, some shame. Benedict descended from the dais and went down on one knee before Noah. Not before society, not before legacy. Before the boy who had once asked him for bread. Noah, he said, voice roughened. There is something I should have known long ago, something stolen from us by lies. I am your father. Noah stared at him. His small face went still. Then confused, then frightened. Mara crouched beside him at once. I should have told you sooner, she whispered. I was trying to keep you safe. Noah looked from her to Benedict. Are you angry? Benedict's eyes shone. No, because I took your potatoes. A broken laugh moved through the room, but it died quickly because Benedict was crying now. Not loudly, not weakly, but openly enough that no one could pretend not to see. No, my boy, I am grateful you did. Noah swallowed. Do I have to become grand? Mara pressed a hand to her mouth. Benedict smiled through the pain. Not tonight. Do I still sleep near Mama? Yes. Do I still share food? If you wish. Noah thought carefully. May I call you Papa later? Not immediately. I have to practice. Benedict bowed his head. Later is more than I deserve. Noah reached out and touched the Duke's sleeve. You gave me bread first. That helps. Benedict closed his eyes. For a moment, Mara thought the whole ballroom might break under the weight of what had been lost and what was being offered back too gently to trust all at once. Then Lord Marwood's voice snapped across the room. "This is sentimental madness. There is no proof." Benedict stood. The tenderness left his face. "Mr. Crowley has given a signed confession. The letters have been recovered. The accounts concerning Jacob Finch have been reviewed. Every lie has your handprint on it." Marwood's eyes flashed. "I protected Thornbrook. You protected your ambition. I prevented you from throwing yourself away on a steward's daughter." Mara lifted her chin. Benedict's voice went cold. "I was not thrown away. I was kept from the only honest love in this house." Celine stepped away from her father as if burned. "You knew about the child." Marwood did not answer quickly enough. Her face crumpled. "You knew." His silence condemned him. Celine's eyes filled, but Benedict had no pity left to spend on the Marwood name. "Lord Marwood will leave Thornbrook tonight," he said. "His accounts will be seized. His connection to this estate is ended. Any man who helped him will answer to my solicitor by morning." Marwood looked around the room, searching for allies. He found only witnesses. That was the final punishment. Not shouting. Not chains. Irrelevance. He was escorted out before midnight. Lady Celine left soon after. Before she went, she approached Mara near the archway. Her face was pale, pride stripped thin. "I was cruel to you." Mara said nothing. Celine swallowed. "I wanted to be Duchess so badly that I mistook your pain for an obstacle." "Yes," Mara said. The honesty struck harder than anger. Celine nodded. "I am sorry." Mara looked toward Noah, who was showing Benedict how to divide a sugared bun fairly, which means Mama gets the largest part, because she always lies about hunger. Then she looked back at Celine. "Be kinder when no one rewards you for it." Celine's eyes lowered. "I will try." After the guests withdrew, Mara found Benedict in the old orchard. Snow had begun to fall, soft and hesitant, settling on the bare apple branches like pale blossoms. It was the same orchard where they had once promised each other impossible things under summer leaves. Now winter held it. But winter was not death, only waiting. Benedict turned when she approached. "Noah is asleep," he said. Mrs. Hale threatened to guard his door with a soup ladle. That sounds like her. He asked if fathers are allowed to be nervous. "What did you say?" "That this one is." A small smile touched Mara's mouth, then faded. Silence settled between them. Not empty. Careful. Benedict stepped closer, then stopped, leaving the distance hers to close or keep. "I cannot give you those 6 years back." "No. I cannot undo hunger. No. I cannot make you the girl in this orchard again." Her eyes burned. "I do not want to be her." His expression softened. "I know. I loved her, but I am not asking her to return." Mara looked at him. Snow caught in his dark hair. The Duke looked tired, humbled, and more human than she had ever seen him. "I love the woman who survived," he said quietly. "The mother who raised our son kind, when the world offered her every reason to make him hard. The woman who still shared bread when she had none to spare. I will wait as long as she needs." Mara's breath trembled. Dukes are not famous for waiting. "This one has been corrected by a 6-year-old. A laugh escaped her. Small, wet, real. Benedict's face changed, as if the sound had given him back something he thought gone forever. She stepped forward then, not fully into his arms. Not yet, but close enough that their sleeves touched. It was enough for tonight. By morning, Thornbrook Hall felt different. Noah arrived in the breakfast room wearing his new boots and the expression of a boy taking his responsibilities seriously. Benedict stood when he entered. Noah frowned. "Do you stand every time sons enter?" "I am learning." Noah considered this. "Good morning, Papa." The word was careful. Practiced. A little shy. Benedict went still. Then he smiled with such unguarded joy that Mara had to look away. Breakfast was served. Bread, eggs, jam, and roasted potatoes. Noah stared at the potatoes for a long moment. Then, with great ceremony, he placed the largest one on Benedict's plate. Benedict looked at him. "You are giving me the best one? You gave me yours first." Then Noah picked up another and placed it on Mara's plate. "And Mama gets one because she is not allowed to pretend she is full anymore." Mara laughed then. Truly laughed. Benedict broke his potato in half and placed the larger piece back on Noah's plate. The three of them sat together as morning light entered Thornbrook Hall. No scandal vanished overnight, no wound healed because truth had finally been spoken. But a hungry boy had asked for leftovers, and somehow, through that small brave request, a family stolen by lies had found its way back to the table. So tell me, did the Duke deserve another chance after missing 6 years of his son's life, or should Mara have made him wait longer before forgiving him? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you love emotional Regency stories filled with hidden children, cruel betrayals, and powerful family reunions, subscribe for the next story.